Hello, everybody. Welcome to Telli Talks, where we talk about life, growth, relationships, and all things in between. I have co-founder and co-CEO of Loop and entrepreneur, Alisa Jacobs.
Hi.
Thanks for coming. Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm like, don't spill my drink. Don't spill my drink. I'm always like that with martini glasses.
They're really difficult. As a underage cocktail waitress in my teen years,
Really?
the catch is don't look.
Yeah, I feel like
The
it's
only
just
way
like,
not to spill it is walk and don't look.
does that work?
100%. Anytime you look at it, any full glass that's a flat top or anything in life, the more you look at it, the more you psych yourself out. So you literally just have to walk and not look.
That makes sense. Because I feel like looking at it, you're just like,
You psych yourself out.
Yeah, seriously. Okay. So for the people that don't know your journey, how did you get into being an entrepreneur and a founder and co-CEO of Loop?
Gosh, I have lived a lot of lives. So I have been in every industry you can imagine, at almost every seat at the table. Early in my career, past waitressing, I was an intern in the fashion industry and worked in sports for the early part of my 20s. And then when I moved to LA, I was working a lot in fashion and entertainment and events. And I'd always been sort of the right hand or the second fiddle to a really smart CEO, agency, founder, entrepreneur. And I don't think I knew what that was at the time. You know, we didn't have all this glorified language about entrepreneurship. It was just small business owners. And so I had such a reverence for the grit and the commitment and the accountability. But I really wanted to also learn the ropes. So I was like, I'm either going to go back and get my MBA or I'm going to go work in the belly of the beast and learn how to do it from the operations side. So I would say mid-late 20s, I ended up as an executive at Diageo, leading culture and partnerships for a bunch of the big beverage alcohol companies. And that gave me kind of the seat at the table of the bureaucracy, the ops, the admin, the red tape that is corporate, but also the infrastructure to build businesses instead of just do fun independent work.
Right.
So yeah, I've worked, every possible seat at the table in marketing, PR, advertising, creative, anything that is storytelling and consumer relationship building. And now Loop is a cultural marketing agency. We focus on influencer, PR, strategy, events, more and more on the creative as well again. But I feel like it's just this kind of combustion of everything I've done for almost 20 years now.
That's amazing that you've accomplished all of that and transitioned into marketing, PR to actually the CEO and co-owner of, what would you like? It's a marketing company.
Yeah, it's, it's
but
funny.
You guys do more than marketing.
You kind of have to dumb it down, to be totally frank. And I think that's something that innovators and entrepreneurs don't always like to come to terms with, because we like to kind of speak our own language with our own jargon, with our own people. And you have to speak to the masses. And so technically, we're a change agency. Loop is called a change agency because it's rooted in transformative growth and change for startups starting up or really big businesses that are trying to enter culture, enter communities in thoughtful ways. But at the core, it's still the services, right? So from a functional perspective, we help generate revenue and brand awareness and brand affinity and loyalty through storytelling. That is through marketing, communications, events, media, influencer and talent, and also more and more in brand innovation and IP. But at the core, it's how you do it. And so, yes, at the end of the day, you still have to have a definition. It's a marketing agency. But I think what sets us apart is the way that we work with our clients and how deeply embedded in culture we are. So we're kind of helping bring them in as plus ones to the party, whereas a lot of brands tend to build something and either hope people come or try to come throw it at you. And so I think we are really good at that matchmaking of how do you do it a little bit more thoughtfully.
Absolutely. And an all service agency to where you help with all markets of aspects of each particular business.
Exactly.
To help grow it to the next level.
And it's not just about, okay, it's a good story. It's realistically story selling, not storytelling. And so if we can't measure the effect and the impact of the storytelling in ultimately revenue that keeps the lights on,
Absolutely.
But also whatever the mission, the vision, the goals of the founder or the client are, then you're just telling stories, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's also really putting that analytical excellence, and, I have a bit of a background in tech and education in new technologies and immersive technologies, whether that was Web3 and blockchain or AI. But whatever it is, it's always going to be the next wave of the internet, right?
Absolutely.
How do we leverage everything at our disposal to do it better, not necessarily compete?
Absolutely. So I have a fragrance candle collection, and I'm sure you guys work with a lot of different companies and a lot of different businesses and a lot of different brands. How would a person like myself come to your company and kind of grow in my business?
I love that because I had the pleasure of getting to smell your fragrance. I love what you are doing with your company, first of all, because I think that aside from it being a family business, if I'm not mistaken, the unisex element is really important because it gives you so much more breadth, but also a bigger challenge in how do I make affinity work, that it's a brand for me if it's a brand for many, or for him or her, right? I also like that from a, where we are in this day and age, right? We're less defined by our masculinity and femininity or male, female, gender identity as it relates to beauty, fashion, expression, regardless of sexual preference, right?
Right.
And so I really like that opportunity. So if I were working with you, or if you came to Loop, we would do one of two ways. Either it would have been when it was chicken scratch on a napkin before it was developed, where our brand studio works with founders, especially incredible talent like you, to figure out how to be an extension of your brand and leverage the community that you've already built. Because when you're inserting a saleable product into an audience that you've already connected with as a person or a persona, it's different than being a big corporation innovating product from like a research and development standpoint.
Absolutely.
And so we would go as far as starting the life cycle of sourcing, developing, branding, the creative assets, social media, down to, we establish the entities, the LLC or the S Corp or what have you. If it's already established, we would come in and say, okay, here's what's working and here's what's not. And it's almost like serving as a generalist practitioner or doctor, where like you do the diagnosis and then we have a team of specialists. If the gap is, okay, we got to really get digital right. So we have, our social media experts working with you on the digital conversation. Or if it's, man, the brand is amazing, but the visual's not connecting. It's too masculine or feminine or dark or light or whatever it might be.
Right.
We might actually work with the creative team to completely revolutionize the visual identity. It might be something where the tone of voice in your marketing materials is you, but not necessarily the brand voice. So actually personalizing the brand voice so that it can live alone or stand alone from you and from your partner, so that it has its own legs.
Identity. Absolutely.
Because it has to be built off of you, but it can't live and die with you.
Exactly. I feel like there's so much things to think about when you have a brand. It's endless, and it definitely takes a village, just like children, because it's just so much. And it's, you definitely need a team, for the people that are entrepreneurs that's starting their business. It's not always easy or sometimes like possible to do it alone, like, especially when you're like managing life, when you have children, when you have businesses, when you have podcasts, when you do this, and it's so much to do. So I genuinely feel like team is essential when it comes to business, because it's just tough to do it alone.
It is. And no one really does. That's whenever we see these success stories that look like one man or woman shows, it's never that. It's team, it's timing, it's tenacity, it's talent. Sometimes it's resources and funding. Like I have a lot of great ideas if I had a bucket of budget, right?
That's another thing. Absolutely.
And so it's how do you get resourceful and creative that if you don't just have stacks on stacks to throw at it and solve problems with money and time, how do you really make your dollar and your hour work harder? Because your dollar is your currency, but so is your time, especially as a mom or having other things. Every minute you spend is currency taken from something else.
Absolutely.
So where do you define the line between investment and expense? And that's where I think having I'm very fortunate. My business partner is Antoinette Williams, and we're like an odd couple. It's really funny. I actually think our relationship could be studied. But she and I have such a great trust and rapport, but we are really good at and get energy from different things.
Right.
So while we're capable of all the things the other one is capable of, it's not what jazzes us, right? And so we're able to really balance each other in keeping each other honest and accountable and doing the work, but also spending more time in our zone of genius than our zone of excellence, because we trust the other person when they're in their zone of genius. We can let go a little.
Absolutely.
Because as an entrepreneur and a mom or
everyone
a wife,
has their strong points.
But it's also really hard to not micromanage.
Yeah.
It's hard to delegate, especially if you're high performing. It is so hard to let go and trust that someone else is going to do it as well or better, or if it takes longer, that it's worth the value of you not just doing it yourself.
Yes. So beyond being a mom, beyond podcast modeling, it just takes more than one person to do everything that's possible when you have multiple things going on in life. Mandatory. It's a must.
And I think that when you're aspirational and ambitious, it's fine if you're just trying to do the best you can with this tiny little thing, right? But for those of us, and I think most of your audience that wants more, believes in more, sees more, it's economies of scale. We all have a certain capacity.
Yes.
And so I think we feel this bragging right of hustle harder, team no sleep, I did it on my own, I got it alone, I got it out the mud. But the reality is you can only do so much on your own, no matter what,
Absolutely.
right? And this person might have this much capacity, this person might have that much capacity. It's still capped.
Yes.
And the only uncapped potential is lateral, not vertical. So you have to have breadth and you have to go beyond your own depth. And it's not help like handouts. It's help to build something more.
Right.
And I actually think that the idea of needing help comes from a scarcity mindset of I need something that I don't have, so I'm coming to you to get it instead of me. Whereas if we actually believe in the abundance and our own value, it's an opportunity to do more together. It's an opportunity of a value offering or a value proposition, not a help me, I'm poor.
Yeah, and you hit the tail on the donkey when you said that you get to a point of maximization on doing something yourself. Like, let's say, for example, I have this audience and I've maxed out what my potential ability is for my audience. How can I reach a different audience or a different country or scale on a bigger level if I've maxed out what I can do for my brand myself?
Right.
So when you deal with people that maybe they feel like they've maxed out their audience on what they're doing, or they might not know what their audience is following them for, whether it be fashion, whether it be family, whether it be podcasts, whether it be fragrance, whether it be charity, whatever that may be, how do you get to the level of like growing them beyond what they can grow themselves?
As a personal brand?
Yes.
I think that as a personal brand, and honestly, even as a product brand, if you feel like you've maxed out on organic audience growth, it really is about new to you. And so, if you are doing collaborations and crossovers and cross-pollinating with like-minded audiences, that's where you're really going to go and grow, because I think you have to know yourself and you have to know your audience enough to know what I'm bringing to the table.
And what works.
And who's going to receive it well, right? Because you only have two choices as a brand. You can either give people what they want or be who you are and they will come.
Right.
Some skirt around both,
Right.
But at the core, if your goal is to be who you are and not just do a bunch of studies and data and analytics to mold to what you think the audience wants. If you really just want to be like, this is who I am and this is what I have to offer, and I want an organic and authentic audience to come to me on this and with me on this ride, I think the best thing you can do to grow your personal brand is play nice in the sandbox. I think it's about going on other podcasts where you add value and that their audience can see what you're bringing to the table. It's about collaborations with product design where it's a really ironic or irrelevant or seemingly irrelevant because it's irreverent, but duality. I think even within relationships, I'm going to go really psych nerd for a second, but there's a relationship dialectics theory. And Esther Perel actually talks a lot about this in kind of the Perel paradigm and relationship theory. But in communication studies, where I learned it originally, it's just the idea of oppositional forces being complementary. And so as that applies to a relationship, which also applies to audience, because your consumer you are in a relationship with, it's like, okay, you want spontaneity and novelty, but you also want safety and security.
Right.
You want closeness and connection, but you also want freedom and autonomy. right?
Absolutely.
And so how do you balance these things that seem like they're an oppositional force and contradiction that actually really blend well together? And you see some of the ironic, nostalgic collabs with like the Legos and the Barbies and the things that you wouldn't think to put together, right? And it introduces an entirely new audience to something they would never consider, but psychographically, they share a lot in common. They
110%.
They want to ignite their inner child, or they like building things, or they like whatever.
It's funny that you mentioned Legos because my son adores like the extra, extremely hard, advanced, 17,000 piece Legos of like Star Wars. And then I saw like this collaboration that they had with the Hermes. Yes. And I was like, Karan, you gotta build this Lego. Yeah, I'm like, build this Lego. Before I was like, oh, these Legos are like $500-$600 for like Legos. And that's all he wants is like Legos. And he's 18 now. And I'm like, okay, like to me, I feel, well, to him too, I feel like it's his therapy of like, you know, just like focusing on something that takes up your time, but relaxing to you.
Yeah.
And he builds these amazing Legos and just displays them around his room. But I saw it and I was like, wait, they have this Lego and I know I don't have the patience or the time to build it. So can you do it?
But they brought you into
absolutely that world. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you'll have to let him know, we have an incredible client who has $1 billion portfolio and one of the smartest people I've ever met, who's obsessed with Legos and chess.
Oh my
But it's
gosh.
also a mentality, right?
Yes.
Like this man has more companies, entities, things to worry about than any of us. And he will literally sit there and build like the Batmobile.
Oh, my son too.
I mean, he has wild displays. And I did the same thing. I sent him, I was like, here's the Birkin and the Nikes.
Right. No,
you feel like building something new.
If you're bored and have the time, you know, this would be amazing. No,
but
absolutely.
think about what it takes to, whether you're playing chess or Legos are literally an engineer's mind, right?
Absolutely.
You are deconstructing things and building things and the attention to detail. Like, I swear the next time I'm hiring, if I might put like preference for Lego builders, right?
Right.
Because there's certain things you can't teach. If someone loves doing that, I wish I had that attention to detail. I'm much more macro.
Oh, me too. I'm like, I just look at it and I'm like, it's a table full of like pieces. And I'm like, I'll be back when it's done.
Right.
It's stressing me out just looking at it, and it gives me anxiety. With just like, oh my gosh, this is a lot.
But it's like puzzles and problem solving.
Yes.
And I think, again, it goes back to when you're forming teams, you need the person on the team that thinks like that. You also need the person on the team that does not want color by number.
Right.
Right. And I think that one of the things is we always think it's like, okay, who's the best at it? Whatever the at it is. It's not always about who's the best at it. It's about what complements. Again, it's like, when you're drafting a team, whether it's you as a brand or as a person around you, or for me, like hiring on the agency, we really have diverse skill sets, right? It's Black-owned, women-owned, diversely run. But at the core, everyone has special functions. That is the thing they're the best at.
Right.
And so they're capable as generalists. But it's really like the Avengers. Like you each have your superpower.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about sports, like even just like NFL, NBA, any traditional sports, it's the same thing. Like you can't have all-stars that can't play together.
Right. Too many Chiefs, not enough Indians.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And it's crazy because, like, let's say, for example, on your team, you have the Lego builder, and then you have the person that is the organizer. The Lego builder might not be as organized, but can build, or might be a tad messy, or whatever that may be. And then the organizer is very OCD when it comes to how do you mesh people together that might have strong points in certain areas, but then not so strong points in other areas.
So I'll take it one step farther. I think it's the personalities that come with those strong suits.
Absolutely.
I think that you have to be able to actually be multilingual. And what I mean by that is, even within a corporation, so entrepreneurship is a whole nother beast, but even within a corporation, if I am on an internal team and I'm managing multiple stakeholders and they have different goals, different KPIs, different things to check the box for their boss and that will get them to their kid's soccer game on Sunday.
Right.
Their values are different. So at the baseline, you're not marching to the same beat of the same drum, because even though ultimately you all want to win, how you measure winning is different.
Absolutely.
And so you have to be able to communicate that to the engineers, the creatives, the brand team people. It depends on the industry, but for me, even at Diageo, I think my superpower was I really am very multilingual and I love learning. And so I don't pretend to be an expert in anything. I can speak the language with the lawyers and then translate that to the creative team so they understand what the parameters are, so that we don't end up having $150,000 fix-its. Right. And I think that even kind of the corporate suit side and the talent side, it all has to gel. And you're playing matchmaker a lot of the time, but you actually have to be able to communicate with creatives, with talent, with entrepreneurs, with people that are wired for independence, as well as those that are status quo, that their safety is in anti-disruption. Where if you're a disruptor or an innovator, you're actually a threat to their job and to their livelihood. So subconsciously, they're actually sometimes rooting against you, even if they like you.
Absolutely.
So how do you, beyond the skill set, like blend the personalities? And I think it's two things. One, I think it's shared vision. I think that you have to be so clear on where you're all going in terms of the North Star, the most important thing.
Right.
Because there's a lot of other important things along the way. But if everyone is looking to the same North Star, and what you want to be in the world, what you want the brand to be in the world, that's really important. In my work, because it is also very impact-oriented, I think that the mission matters as much as the vision. I don't think that's, I won't say unfortunately, but I want to say, I don't unfortunately think that's true for everyone, and I don't think that is indicative of brand success.
Right.
But for the brands I care about, the brands I want to work with, they do care. They do care about the impact they have on the world and want to make it better. And so for my team, I can have the most talented people on the planet, but if you actually don't care about the mission and you're not aligned on some of the goals socially, we're probably not going to connect when things get hard, right? Because that's what keeps me up at night and gets me out of bed when it's not my favorite thing to work on.
Right.
But on a team, I think it comes down to, what do you have in common? Because the things that you don't have in common are actually what are going to make each other better, because you're filling each other's gaps and you're learning from each other. But if there are things that you do have in common, and it might be something as simple as like liking the same food or sports team or TV show.
Something completely out of the brand or, right, absolutely.
Or it might just be, I have respect for other people, so I'm willing to get to know you. I will say, I think we're all mirrors, right? And so in business and in pleasure, if you are reacting to someone, I think it takes a lot of self-work.
Absolutely.
Because if I don't like you, there's something I don't like about me that you represent that I have or don't have.
Absolutely.
And if I do like you, great. I like me too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so I think more and more people need to just be a little more reflective of, it's like, if you're always complaining about everyone around you, or you don't like this personality, or this person's to this, or this person's to that, it's very likely that it's a trigger because it's something in you or not in you that you wish you had.
Absolutely.
And I think that's sort of a starting point too.
Agreed. So what do you think the hardest thing your job entails on, as far as your time and your focus?
The hardest thing?
Yes.
I think the hardest thing that my job entails is, I'd have to think about it, to be honest with you. I don't think of it as hard. I think that I'm in the 1% of people in the world that's lucky enough to actually wake up and do what I love every day. So I guess I don't look at it as like what's hard, but I do think, of course, there's obstacles, there's challenges. So I would say the areas I feel the most challenged, I think, is urgency. I have this, like, when you have purpose and you've found an outlet for it, there's this boiling effect internally where you're just like, go.
Yeah.
And I used to be wildly fast-paced, crazy workaholic. Like I told you earlier, a reforming perfectionist. So I
love that you said reforming too, because I'm like,
because I'm not reformed.
Like, how do you get rid of that? Like, you know, the urge, because you know what they said. There's this saying, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it goes on the lines of like, it's better to achieve excellency than perfection, because excellency is achievable and perfection's not. I'm probably messing up the quote completely, but it's somewhere along those lines. And it's like, how do you get kind of away or detour from the perfectionist
So,
stand.
How do you get away from perfectionism? I actually think you lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that society has glorified a lot of behaviors in us that serve the corporate agenda, but don't necessarily serve us as humans. Those being workaholism and team no sleep, right? Those being perfectionism and all of these things. And the reality is, it's fear. If we're being honest with ourselves, we create these unachievable bars to validate some belief that we can't achieve, that we're not enough. And so if we really believe our enoughness, if we really believe that we're capable of anything, then we wouldn't be paralyzed in our perfectionism.
Agreed.
It's fine to achieve. It's fine to seek. It's fine to aspire. It's fine to want more and higher. But perfect doesn't exist.
Right.
Another is multitasking. We always are like, oh, I'm such a good multitasker. I'm a woman. I'm such a good multitasker.
Right.
No, there's no such thing. You might have rapid synapses between your focus.
Right.
But multitasking is actually the most detrimental skill any of us has in business because there's no attention and focus.
Right. It's not giving it enough focus on one particular thing.
But again, I think it perpetuates the same problem and paradigm that we see with perfectionism, which is I can do it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And with perfectionism, even the idea that we have to reform or like cancel it or negate it, alignment is actually acceptance, right? And so I think that it's leaning into it and being like, okay, then I need micro wins because I might not hike Kilimanjaro tomorrow, but what is the
I made
first
it to level 1, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I was in gaming for a bit, and I think that the gaming aspect of things that I think is so relevant is every time you reach a new level in video games, you're an amateur again.
Mm-hmm.
You start over. So success actually looks like novice because I could be whooping you on level 8, but we're at square one in level 9.
Right.
Whoever gets there. And so I think that if we gamified it a little bit more, where it's actually like winning and playful and small victories and pride in like the little things, we would be less attached to
the bigger goal.
This or bust.
Absolutely. That just makes so much more sense too. And if just looking at it from that perspective with the micro wins and everything, it just makes things so much more easier to deal with life or business or relationships, friendships, whatever that may be. Like we've passed this obstacle, pivotal moment, whatever that may be. Now we're moving on to the next. And now it's like back to 0. Let's get to 100 again, you know?
I think it's finding fun in it.
Yes, absolutely.
I actually think that the older we get, the more we return to youth. Mm-hmm. And being able to find the fun is, it's like winning breeds winning, right?
Yes.
Anytime you're on a winning streak, it's because you're in this, whether it's God, the universe, manifesting, whatever the all in all or the greater thing to you is, it's all the same idea though.
Right.
It's done. Instead of hoping and wishing and praying in a passive way, it's participatory. It's what I want, I have, where I'm going, I'm at. It's done.
Right.
And you can find any religious script on the planet. You can find any self-help guru, any law of attraction expert. The single through line to every belief system is acceptance of completion before it happens. That radical delusion is actually what breeds winning. So if you allow yourself to celebrate, like, I tied my shoe today, right? That attracts more winning. And so it's not as difficult as needing to envision, I'm the president. It's easier and easier these days, but I'm, the queen of whatever. It actually can be, I'm winning here, I'll win there. I'm winning here, I'll win there. Absolutely. And it's a lot easier when it's real because it takes a whole lot of faith, much bigger than a mustard seed, to completely embody and believe something that is so far away. But if it's this and then this and then this and then this and the components parts, it's easier.
Absolutely. Agreed. So with everything that you have going on, with all these businesses that you are growing into bigger brands, when do you have time for yourself, friendship, a clear mind, any of that?
It has been a process to seek and maintain peace because it's one thing when it ebbs and flows. When it's down times, it's easier. And in transparency, I've had to have like bumps and bruises along the way that sat me down and slowed me down. It wasn't this active decision where I was like, I'm going to do better, you know? But when you don't, the world does. And I've had to really focus on the maintenance. Like we were talking about with perfectionism, I have really big goals and I have a really high bar of excellence for myself and for anyone around me. And I had to take a step back and be like, I make excuses for everyone else. I have so much grace when others fail or flaw. I have no margin for myself. And if I don't have that margin, I'm not pouring into myself. And so I've had to like really sacrifice and make decisions that say, I am my client, I am my boss, I am whatever I have to pretend I am until I became that. Because if I had the gym on the calendar, but a meeting came up, it wasn't on the calendar, it was in pencil, right?
Right.
My self-love, my self-care, my self-time was always like the first thing to go.
Agreed. I'm a person that falls in that as well too. But I've lately been like mandatory. This has to happen. As soon as you wake up, take the daughter to school, you're in the gym. You know, like it has to be in your schedule, even if something else comes up. And it has to be, I just had this conversation earlier, like it's okay to say no sometimes. Yeah. And that's something that I had it's long
okay to say
time.
No all the time.
I had a long time learning how to say no. Like it took me a while to get to that point of like, not today. I can't do this. Like a very, very long time because I was a people pleaser and I still am, I would say recovering or, you know, reforming when it comes to that, because it's like, I am naturally a nurturer and I'm sure you are as well too. And you lose focus on yourself. And it's like, how can you grow a business or make other people happy if you're not doing what it takes to make yourself happy?
Right. And you underestimate the efficiency.
Yes.
When you put yourself first. And naturally nurturing, I can relate to, but I also think that we are what we needed. Yes. And so it's taken a lot of self-reflection and therapy and prayer and meditation for me to also recognize that being a people pleaser didn't just come from being kind. Nice and kind are two different things. I'm innately kind, but that don't want to disappoint niceness comes from unmet needs that we had at some point.
Yeah, whether rooted issues, absolutely.
And sure, a lot of that's probably childhood and some of it might be work stuff, relationships. It's not always like, well, at 4 years old, someone...
Right.
No, but like you have these ingrained patterns and if you don't really nurture you,
absolutely,
just like love, just like care, you can't do it for anyone else. But I think it takes structure. And I am a bit of a creative at the core, so it's been hard for me to implement personal structure. I'm really good at business structure, but it's divided for me. It's very compartmentalized. And so to your point, it's like, if it's on the calendar, it's not that it's not adjustable, but it can't leave. So if I cancel on myself, I'm postponing or rescheduling. I'm not canceling. I can't fall off my own to-do list anymore.
Right.
And I'll tell you what helped me move out of perfectionist people pleaser into a little bit more focused on making sure I'm good first.
Right.
Was not just you have to love yourself to love anyone else. It was actually the fact that like everything happens faster and better when I'm solid.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All of that time that when I'm chasing instead of allowing, when I'm just, every morning I meditate, every morning I pray, every morning I'm active, whether that's the gym or yoga or something. And I never in a million years thought I would have an hour and a half of alone time in the mornings.
Right.
Never. But if I don't do that, I am not sane.
Right. No, agree.
It's
like the way I function is completely different if I am not on the treadmill after. It's like, even though I know I have a schedule, even though I know, hey, I got a podcast at this time and I live in Africa, I would like to say, and it takes me a long time to get here. They're always here before me. Yeah. Shout out to the team because essential once again. But you have to take time for yourself. You know, if my daughter has to go to school, I know she has to go to school every day at a certain time. I know that I'm going to have this amount of time to get in the gym. This amount of time is going to go towards hair. This amount of time is going to go towards makeup. This amount of time is going to go towards traffic. And then now I'm here, you know? So like it's almost like having to micromanage your time, knowing that something is not going to get done. Yeah. And what you prioritize is more important with whether it's something for yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's the Lego pieces, right?
Yes.
They're all there. You just have to put them together.
What's at the top of the totem pole for you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that you also just see the results.
Yes.
You know, like
you see the difference for sure.
I thought that it was sacrificing time from my productivity. And when I realized it was actually expediting my productivity, it completely shifted it for me.
And really more efficiently. Did. Like it's just way more efficiently.
You become magnetic.
Yeah.
You really do.
And it magnetizes to the point of like, I can do what I need to do for myself and what I need to do for others and be happy about doing it as opposed to stressed and have anxiety towards it.
Yeah. And the anxiety is like, I never considered myself an anxious person, but I can be reactive. And in the last couple of years, I was dealing with more anxiety related to relationships and work than I had ever emotionally dealt with.
Right.
I had always just managed it. I'm very cerebral. So it was like, it's not that it didn't exist, but it wasn't taking a physical toll on me. Right. I'd have like knots in my back, whatever, who doesn't? And so when it got to a point where I was like, I'm physically feeling this and it's really challenging me, I had to figure out how to dissect that too, because unfortunately, it's nothing you do, it's what you don't do.
Right. Absolutely.
And you have to sit in it. It's like, I love yoga, but yin versus yang yoga, I don't know how familiar you are, but like there's one thing when you're doing like a vinyasa flow, but Bikram or yin, you're just holding a pose.
Yeah.
And you would think it would be more difficult to be an active movement.
Right.
You try sitting in child's pose for 5 minutes and not crying.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's actually releasing resistance. And I really thought about that when you were asking me about perfectionism, because I don't know the answer because I'm still working on it. But I realized like yoga, it's a practice. It's not something to perfect.
Absolutely.
It's not an end game. And so I've just taken to sitting in it more. And whether that's with romantic relationships, friendships, family stuff, business, I'm so passionate and I'm so communicative and I'm so, I won't say reactive, but I don't shy away from confrontation. But sometimes you just have to pause, and there's a huge power in the pause. And I've really learned that that pause is, a game changer. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to pause on conversation and take it to the game. Everyone that comes plays Would You Rather, so we can get to know you outside of your career and what you do, and just know you as a person and your choices in life.
Deal.
I play with you as well too. So we're going to pick. What are we going to do? 4 cards each. So would you rather do what's on question A or question B?
A.
And then I play with you too, so you can grab.
Okay.
I got 5.
So I got a couple?
5, yeah. And I will start. Would you rather have baby-sized hands or baby-sized feet?
I would rather have baby-sized hands.
I agree. I feel like I remember those binding feet that you remember, like the binded feet that they have, and just be like walking on little toesies is
No, I'm
insane.
trying to get around.
Yeah.
I don't need to pick things up.
Right. Exactly. Okay, it's on you.
Okay. Would you rather be left at the altar or cheated on during the reception?
Ooh.
That escalated quickly.
I would rather be left at the altar.
Yeah.
At least I feel like you made your decision and it wasn't me. Than to get cheated at the reception and then still marry you.
Never.
Is like, why? Like, what are we doing here?
Cut my losses. 100% cut my losses.
I'd be like, thank you, Jesus, for getting me to the point of like letting me know now before it's do or die, literally.
And then you have to catch a case.
Exactly. I won't be on Snapped.
Right.
Okay. Would you rather have every day planned out down to the half hour or never make any plans at all?
Ooh.
For the performing perfectionist.
That's actually really hard for me. I'm a Gemini. That's really hard for me.
That's hard for me too.
Oh, man.
Like, it's almost like a question I'm allergic to. I don't know.
I don't know if I can answer that. I don't want to cop out, though. I think, like, I know what it feels like to have my life planned down to the half hour.
Literally.
And it gives me a sense of control.
Yes.
But it also makes me feel trapped.
That's a good way to describe.
So I would say despite the fact that my current state would lose my, pardon my French, fucking mind if I had no plans, no details, no nothing, I think I would want to lean into the spontaneity of it. And I think that I'm in a season of releasing control and being okay with the unknown. So if nothing else as a challenge, I would take the latter, but also because the other's the devil I know.
Yeah, no, 110%.
That's a hard one.
I wouldn't know how to move without any plans.
Yeah.
Unless I'm like on vacation and it's just like,
Right.
we're on vacation. We have no plans, like, you know, but even then still you're like, okay, let me answer my phone. Let me make sure I do this and let me make sure I do that. But just never making plans ever.
And if you're solo,
insane.
It's one thing. But if you have anyone else to coordinate with, it's a whole different ballpark.
Like I just went to Tulum for my birthday and it's like, okay, we have dinner at this time. We have beach at this time. We have lunch at this time. We're doing this photo shoot at this time. We're all wearing the same color bikini at this time. You know, it's bad. So the no plans thing would literally give me anxiety. I would be like, oh my gosh, what do we do next? Like, what's the plan? Are we jumping off a building? Are we doing, like, what are we doing? So I would lose my mind if but I would feel like maybe, I don't know. It's giving me anxiety thinking about it.
We need to move on. It's actually giving me anxiety. Okay. How about, would you rather only do it for 2 minutes every day or have a 30-minute makeout session every day?
30 minutes every day? Would you do it 30 minutes every day?
No. Your option is do it, oh yes, in quotation marks, for 2 minutes every day.
Oh, 2 minutes. I thought 30 minutes.
No, or have a 30-minute makeout session every day.
I mean, I feel like making out for 30 minutes without an end goal is like, what are we doing here? Like, 2 minutes is just like not enough time.
Right.
So,
it's a conundrum.
Yeah. I would do the 30-minute makeout in hopes it leads to something else eventually. I feel like, you know, am I counting this time? Are we on a timer of like, how long are we kissing?
And does it mean that nothing else happens?
Right. I feel like I would take the 30 minutes in hopes to it leading to something else.
Yeah.
And the 2 minutes of not getting what I need out of the 2 minutes.
Right. I actually agree because I feel like, and I'm like not unfamiliar with celibacy. So I feel like I'm very much an all or nothing. So whatever the thing is, I want the most out of the thing.
Absolutely. Agreed.
So I would actually prefer 30 minutes of intimacy and connection and like achieving a good makeout session to lackluster, like it's like vegan pizza. It's like just be what you are.
Agreed. No, I feel like the 2 minutes would just be like we're just starting and there's no passion or any type of
everyone would be cranky all the time.
Yeah. Or unless that's your thing. You know, some people that's their thing.
Speedy.
No judgment. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Would you rather in one sitting eat a jar of mayonnaise?
Oh, no, whatever the other one is.
Or
it's literally my worst fear. I don't even care what the other word is. You could literally list anything.
Drink a jar of pickle juice.
I would happily drink a jar of pickle juice without a bet.
Mayonnaise is a lot.
I mean, I'm disgusting. I actually drink pickle juice anyway. I love pickles.
You know what's crazy? I feel like, you know, your taste buds change every like 7 years, 6 years, whatever it is. I just started liking like an obnoxious amount of pickles on my sandwich. And I never was like have pickles on sandwiches, take it off, whatever sandwich it is. I don't care. Pickles are nasty. And now I'm like, load them up, dill pickle my sandwich up. Like, you know, it is insane.
To be honest, you could have said sewage water and I still would choose it because mayonnaise is like the number one most disgusting thing on the planet to me. To where like I used to call it mayo only because I couldn't say the whole word without grimacing. But I love pickle juice. I would happily drink pickle juice. Oh my gosh,
it's crazy. And the crazy thing about it is like I would literally drain, drench my sandwich with mayonnaise. Oh. And like now I'm like Subway extra mayo. I'll let you know when to stop.
Yeah.
Now I'm like mayo, a little bit, but pickles load me up.
Yeah.
You know, it's insane. It's crazy how our taste buds change. Even with like veggies and stuff, like I used to hate veggies and now I'm like, okay, I can do asparagus with my salmon now instead of rice. Like I'm Asian, so I eat rice all the time. But like now it's just...
I'll take both.
like now it's just starting to change and I'm just like, wow.
Do you know what's crazy though? How often did you say they change?
Every 6 or 7 years, I want to say.
So we're in 7-year cycles as humans because that's relationships too. Like we as humans, it's almost like our molting season. I feel like socially we're conditioned every 4 years because of school and moves and contracts and things. But physiologically and emotionally, we're wired in that 6 to 7 year season. And there's other cultures, I forget where I don't want to misspeak, but where their marriage contracts are actually expire and renew every 7 years because you have to decide if that's still your person.
Oh, wow.
And you really find yourself again every time. So whenever people give like marriage advice and they haven't been married 7 years, I'm like, talk to me in a couple of years. We'll see.
110%.
Right? And you have to like keep choosing each other. And that's the same thing with work. I was an executive recruiter for many years for Fortune 100 companies. And 7-year mark was a liability. And I never understood why. My boss eventually told me it was because it's just like relationships. When you end a relationship, if it's been in the 7 to 10 year window, one of two things happens. There's either a rebound and they don't stay more than 6 months, or it's a lifer and the next one's the final one. And so it's a 50-50 odds though.
Oh, wow.
And so it would be almost something I'd have to like prep in the notes if someone was being poached after 7 years somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Because we needed to prove that they would stay. So the final payment as recruiters was after the 6-month mark because you don't want just like turnover.
Right, with that rebound, yes.
And so it'd be a higher risk for 7 years plus, even though many would just stay the rest of their career because many would leave within 4 to 6 months.
Oh, wow.
But relationships are the same way.
And do you feel like, let's say, for example...
I didn't know it was a taste bud thing, but it's inventory of all of you, all the things that you like.
Yes. Do you feel like after like the 7 or 10 years, some people that you say is like a lifer or the rebound, do you feel like the lifer just settles because of the change?
I think it's... Okay.
Or adapt. I guess a better word than settle is adapt.
I think it could be either or both. So if someone goes into a job or a new relationship after 7 years, and with the caveat that there's no gap, right? Because when you're executive recruiting, you got to have a job to get a job. We're usually poaching. We're not just like, who's available, right? And so if I'm poaching you from somewhere that you're seemingly happily married or employed, gainfully employed, by the time you get on a call with me as an executive recruiter at that stage in my career, in my mind, you already have 1 foot out the door. It's like going on a date.
Right.
Or giving your number.
Right.
Right? You responded.
Right.
So absolutely. I already know psychologically you're not fully in.
Exactly.
So the challenge with that is it's because either you don't know who you are anymore, and so you try the next thing and it's not everything you hoped it would be and you jump ship, or it's because you know exactly who you are and it's no longer where you are.
Absolutely.
And so it's not necessarily settling, it's aligning. So I think with relationships, it's similar. It's not as cut and dry as business, but I do think that, and I'm not married, so this is obviously my perspective, but I look at relationships, and my parents are about to celebrate their 50th this year.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Going to Cape Town. I can't wait.
That's amazing.
But they are not the people they were when they were 25.
Of course.
Even the dynamic of their relationship is different, right? Like, and I've shared this story before, but I didn't know until my 30s that my parents had a real struggle life in the first year of their marriage because they had agreements, they had a plan, and then life happened. My dad got, laid off from the school systems. My mom ended up having to go back to work, like all these things where they were on food stamps at one point, which they didn't share with me for most of my adult life. And my mom was the initial breadwinner in a relationship she never went into as the breadwinner. That shifted. My dad did what he needed to do. They've had different iterations of their relationship at each stage. And then having kids, I have an older sister. They've had to like renegotiate almost, right?
Right.
The roles. And I think that I've always been inspired by that partnership because it is the communication and the honesty of we just grow together. And growing together doesn't mean growing the same way. It means taking those temperature checks, I feel like.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I do think in relationships, sometimes people are just used to the monogamy or the monotony, right?
Right.
Of this is comfortable and safe. But I also think that even if you're in a marriage, whether you're dating someone else every 5 to 7 years or you're together forever, it doesn't even have to be a marriage, your life partnership.
Right.
If you're not constant, and not every 7 years, like every year, because we're in a different society.
You grow
now.
or you
Yeah.
stay stagnant, and that could be detrimental to your business relationship, your friendships, or your,
Unless you're on the same page.
Exactly.
The reality is the happiest couples, I hate to say this, are complacent because there's not an expectation. And you can't get disappointed if there's no expectation.
Agreed.
I've signed on for this. You're who you are. I'm who I am. And we're staying here.
Right.
And that's a really happy marriage, just like someone that's in corporate that wants to be a middle manager for the rest of their career. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually milk and cookies. Company's getting exactly what they need and the person's getting exactly what they need. I just can't relate.
Right. Agreed.
And so if you are growth oriented in your business and your personal life, and if you are someone that wants to be better, do better, learn more constantly, you have to be with someone willing to do that. And I do think that you have to be able to have those hard questions and have those hard answers every year, not just every 7. But I get why people renew their vows, and I get why they have like 7 to 10 year resets almost, because you're not the same person. Who I am at 25, my core values are the same. But what I need out of life, my priorities, everything's different.
Absolutely.
Who I'll be at 45,
and
who I'll be at 55.
What you tolerate, what you don't tolerate, what you agree with, what you disagree with changes as you grow, as you age, as you experience, as you get more wise, as you get to places in your life that you hit those micro goals and those milestones, and it changes 110%. And even, I would say, even less than the 7 to 10 years, I would say like that probationary period of every 3 months to 6 months to a year to 3 years.
I think that's how you get to 7, 14, 21. I also think it's like, you said something about like not boundaries per se, but like your needs or your preferences and things. And I think that we also make exceptions.
Agreed.
Like internet culture will have us believing that everyone's a guru and fuck the Cheesecake Factory and I have all these standards and whatever. But the reality is, if it's your dream job or it's that person that's just a glitch in your system and you don't know why you care so much, all those rules go out the window. And the truth of it is you have to be able to maintain without exception too. And that's really hard when you love or when you admire or whatever it is in whatever aspect of life. And so it's also, how do you maintain a certain bar of not excellence and standards, but having your needs met, not just meeting someone else's needs.
Yes. And it has to be both ways too. It can't just be one-sided.
Yeah. But how do you maintain that if it's someone that either you're married to and you've already signed on for, right? So they're grandfathered into the clause.
Right.
Or if it's someone that's just, it's your Achilles heel, it's your kryptonite. How do you do that? How do you actually?
I would say communication is key for that. Only for the simple fact that if they don't know that's how you feel, then how are they going to change or adjust to making it better for yourself or your unity, And I feel like when things aren't communicated, and that's when things fail and things go wrong because the lack of communication or communication too also comes with understanding, how I'm communicating to you how I feel, but do you understand? And are you going to receive it how I want you to receive it? So it all comes it all ties in with each other. But I mean, obviously my relationship isn't perfect, so it's like that is something that I feel like needs to be done with any relationship, whether it be business or your spouse, that you have to communicate and your communication has to be understood, and that understanding has to be followed up with the way you want it to be as far as what it is you're trying to communicate. Like it
activated.
Yes. To understand things, not how your spouse, let's say, for example, I'm like, I want an hour for the gym every day, right? And if you're busy or you're not busy, how can we communicate that for me to get my hour in the gym even if you're not busy, can someone else come in as a nanny to come watch the kids? Or how are we going to make this happen? And then if you're like, okay, I can't make this happen because we don't have time or the nanny's not available at this time, then how can we figure out a way to make it happen at another time if it doesn't happen in the morning, to where you still feel comfortable with how your day goes, you know, and just getting that understanding of what it is your spouse wants or you want, and making it actually happen to their needs instead of your needs.
I think that's sacrificial love that we don't like to talk about, because sacrifice sounds scary. And I think that you have to do that in business and personal. And like my business partner, she communicates differently than me. She has different needs. I can be like a puppy and she's like a wildcat, right? In terms of...
But you need that yin and yang.
Yeah. But I was trying to love on her as a friend and partner with her as a collaborator in the ways that I needed early on in our relationship. And she was doing the same with me. And our needs weren't getting met as even business partners and friends. And we joke all the time that we basically like self-helped relationship therapy, because we didn't actually go to counseling, but like we really worked through it. And now like we have those open conversations about how do I even communicate with you in the way that you need, or show love or show support without overwhelming you.
Yes. Love languages are a thing. Like it's very different how people take love and receive love, and how it's...
And that changes too.
Yes. Agreed.
And I think the listening, like you were saying with the collaboration, the communication, it's actually listening to hear, not listening to check the box that I heard you, but
or listening to actually respond. Some people just listen to respond.
Yeah. And I think that the activation part is, I think a lot of times people are like, I hear you. It's like, right, but are you doing anything different?
Yes.
And then our problem is we expect them to have an outcome from our communication, and we're not detached enough to like let them just show up.
Yes.
And so then if your needs aren't met in the way that you wanted it, then it becomes another thing.
Right.
And I think you said something really important, which is whether it's the gym or something else, we're collaborating as a team to negotiate this thing over here together, but it's us against the thing, the world, the problem, the opportunity.
Right. And it has to be us. It can't just be your way or my way. Or if this doesn't work for you, then, you know, I have to come back here and say, okay, what works for you that can work for us?
It's not a negotiation between my time and your value or my value. It's here's this thing we got to work out. And I think that's really powerful.
Absolutely. It's not easy.
No.
It's not easy, but it is, like you said, it is work, just like everything else, to where it's just like what works for us at the end, even if it means it's not beneficial to you, or maybe it might not be beneficial to me, like what works for us in the end. So that's very, very essential. I'm going to do one more question, and then I'm going to let you tell everyone where they could find you. Okay. Would you rather have a very clingy partner or a very jealous partner?
Aren't they usually the same?
I feel like too. I definitely feel like.
Would I rather have a clingy partner or a jealous partner? I honestly think they're usually the same.
Yeah, I feel like it comes hand in hand for sure.
And it's rooted from the same thing, because a clingy partner is going to be clingy out of their own insecurities and need for your attention. And a jealous partner is usually jealous because they're insecure or cheating. So
Agreed.
It's kind of the same person.
Agreed.
And I'd rather be single, I think.
And I feel like, too, like clingy is cute to an extent.
Right.
To where it's like, okay, you want to Netflix and chill and just be under me. But then it's like, I don't want you to micromanage everything I do because you're so jealous.
Right.
That it's like.
I'll say, if I have to be really clinical about it, as a woman attracted to men, clingy to me feels very feminine, and jealous feels like
something else.
Frenetic masculine, right? It's masculine. It's just broken masculine. And I think I would initially tolerate a little bit of jealousy and feel like they just, whatever initially, more than sucking the life out of me, suffocating me, clingy, because I would feel like I would start to make them effeminate in my mind. But jealousy usually is because they're cheating. So I would probably pass.
I feel like it's cute in the beginning, but like 10 years in, you're like, okay, come on now.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be 50. Like, you wearing that out?
Yeah. I mean, didn't you meet me like this, sir? Or ma'am, or whatever that may be. But okay, it's on you.
All right, I'm giving you, let me see. Okay. Would you rather be immortal but forever stuck at the age you are now?
Oh, give it to me.
Or
I'll take that over anything.
Reincarnation.
I'll take it.
Done.
Okay, what's the other one?
That was your mayonnaise.
That was my mayonnaise.
Be immortal but forever stuck at the age you are now, or reincarnation is real, but you have no idea what your next life will be like.
Yeah, give me stuck at the age and never changing.
Okay.
I feel like not knowing takes me out of the control.
Yeah.
And it's like now I know where I could be. I know where I could go. I feel like I'm strong enough to like have multiple lives past me and like be like, oh, I experienced this, or I'm wise enough to handle this situation. And it's crazy because I went to Costa Rica and did ayahuasca, and I saw like a past life version of myself and like my spirit animal, and I was leading this like group of women. And
what was your spirit animal?
it was a wolf, and my dog's name is Wolf. And I have a little 2-pound Pomeranian. So, but he's like
leader of the pack.
Yeah, and it's like we would telepathically communicate and all these things. And I'm just like, I feel like if I was at the age I'm at now, knowing what I know now it would be different if I was like 5 or 50 and I'm like, okay, like I don't look my best, or I'm not as knowledgeable as I am now. I probably would have a different decision, or different outcome on what I would choose. But at this point in my life right now, like I feel like I'm okay with sticking to this for 50 million years.
And I love the idea of reincarnation. I also believe in past lives, and I do know that it just gets better.
Right.
But at the same time, I actually don't think that it's a control thing. It's a gratitude thing. Like I'm really, really happy and really grounded.
And it took a lot to get to that point.
The most.
Trust me, I get
the most. And so I do feel like I honestly would Russian roulette it. Either would be great because I have enough faith that whatever I come back as only gets better.
Right.
But I have so much gratitude for where I'm at. And like, I wish I had 4 times to live just this year because there's so many different ways I want to do it.
No, 110%. And it's also too, I do believe like reincarnation doesn't come to, well, this is my personal opinion. I'm not like, a master of knowing the knowledge of
you might have been
reincarnation.
One time.
Right. But I feel like if we reincarnate, it's of the same species. Like we reincarnate, like we don't, I feel like, we don't reincarnate as like a mosquito or like, I feel like it's like another lifetime, but another human.
Right.
Or I wouldn't even say mammal. I would say like another human.
Yeah. And I think we have like goals and roles each lifetime. Again, going back to the video game reference, it's like you're trying to hit a certain achievement, not being social or material or status, but it's for our own growth, right?
Absolutely.
And so what's scary about stuck here forever is the idea of potentially stagnating growth. But if you are where you are and where we are mentally, spiritually, it's constant growth. It's constant evolution. I actually think you can molt in place, if you will.
Absolutely.
I think it takes more work than God, the universe, moving you into other cycles. But I think it's almost like if you have unfinished business, right? And I would be perfectly happy to be right here doing the work.
Agreed.
Over and over and over
Agreed.
again.
I agree. Yeah. I agree 110%. And I feel like you said, even with reincarnation, it would be better because you're more knowledgeable. But do you take that knowledge with you into the reincarnation? Or does it come with you? Like, like portions of your next life or your past life comes with you throughout. Like, literally leading women, and then I have an organization with women all of a sudden. Like, I mean, not all of a sudden, but Lord knows when that moment of my life was.
And I think time is really fluid, right? It's man-made. So maybe those lifetimes are coexisting. We don't really know.
Right. In other dimensions.
Yeah. And if you're thinking multiverse, like, we don't know. And so it can sound really esoteric and hippy-dippy, but no more crazy than the Bible, right? Like everything is stories. It's whatever we gravitate to. So I would just say that, like, I do believe it can keep getting better. And I do think that God has a plan for our lives. But at the same time, I'm also like, use me here however you want.
Absolutely. And I'm going to end on that note because it's a beautiful note to end on. Tell everyone where they can find you, what you have going on, coming up, and all that good stuff.
I'm Alisa Jacobs. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Loop. We are at loopstudios.com, and you can find me at Ginger Jacobs, GingerJacobs, or at Loop Says, LOOPSAYS. And we have a lot going on, so please follow us, engage, send us a message, and we'll update you on all the things.
Yes, make sure you tune into all things that Alisa has going on. Follow her on Instagram, and that is it for Telli Talks.